All right, good evening, everybody. Come on in, join us. 6:30 hour is hit. Come find a seat, spend some time with us. By show of hands, who's spent time with me in the last 6 months? Quite a few. She just said, "Oh, please." I've gotten to know all sorts of new friends in the past 6 months. We've been having these talks since August. We've spent time with each other. All right, maybe move up a little bit. We've got the mics on. The front be a little bit closer to the screen. Tom's going up in the booth. He'll turn it up. Maybe that'll help us out a little bit as we go along. Who's rooting for the Eagles? Right? A lot of go birds. Well, it's usually half in Lacey. So, right, it's usually half of you. I'm definitely not rooting for Kansas City. Forget about them. All right, they already won it twice. So, welcome. This is our community information session. If you've heard me before, you kind of know how we go. Tonight will be a little twist on that. We're going to hear a little bit more from our panelists. I'm William Zielinski. I am the acting superintendent for the Lacey Township School District. If you don't know me, I've been with Lacey for 21 years this year. I've served in a variety of roles. Many of them were right here in this auditorium and building for at least the beginning of my career. You have a lot of administration here tonight. They're helping us out when we kind of move on and do our Q&A. You may recognize a lot of them. All of our principals are here. A lot of our supervisors are here to help you out. And please, they'll be in the hallways. Introduce yourselves to them, talk to them. They can answer a lot of building questions, even if you have a very specific question about their buildings, where they run their teams. Up front here, if you just wave, Ms. Sharon Ormsby is our business administrator for the Lacey Township School District. Been with us for many years. Yep. She does a great job, of course. Jason King is with us tonight. He is our principal of the high school. He was formerly principal, vice principal. He was my dean of discipline back in the day. Yeah, I remember all those days. Ted Hopkins is our architect of record. He is here. He's a principal with FVHD Architecture. FVHD, right? And Jason Dobovich is his associate right next to him. I couldn't see him behind Jason. He's with us as well. We have what's considered bond counsel. If we have a successful referendum, it'll go out to bond. So our bond counsel tonight is Lizelle. Some of us have met Lizelle. She's back here in row 3. She's been with us to a lot of our workshops. Most recently, we visited the Seabreeze community, and she was with us. And her associate, Everett Johnson, is here as well. He's on the corner. And I'm introducing them because you're going to meet them later when we move on, when you get your specific questions answered. And, of course, Jennifer Edwards is our financial advisor throughout this process, and she certainly has been a real wealth of information. I'm learning every day from her about how the finances of referendums work and how they're constructed and so on and so on. There's going to be lots of slides up here. I've kind of done this talk a lot of times. I don't really want to miss things. They want me to be a little shorter tonight than I usually am because they want to hear from the panelists a little bit more than what I usually do. I want to thank everybody for coming out to hear. If it's your first time here, don't leave tonight until you get your question answered. Don't leave. We're not leaving until you get your question answered. The format tonight is we're going to do our presentation. Then we're going to move out to get your questions answered. I'm going to stay behind here for general questions. We're going to move into Cafeteria North, and I'll have my administrative team in the hallways to direct you as you go on. That will be Ted and Jason, the architects, will be there along with Jason King, right? Are you joining the architects? Okay, and then in our media center will be all the financial people. It'll be bond counsel. It'll be our financial advisor. They'll be in our media center. It's all right down this hallway here. It's very close by. And then I'll stay behind here for general questions that you would, I guess, normally ask the acting superintendent. I think you're going to join bond counsel. Okay, so Ms. Sharon Ormsby, our business administrator, will join bond counsel in the media center. And again, if you don't know where you're at, it's right down the hallway here, and it's not very far after we break up from here. So that's going to be the format of the evening. We're going to hear from our panel experts in a couple of minutes. So why are we here? Okay, that's the real thing. Why are you sacrificing some of your time on a Tuesday night to come out to the high school, whether you have children with us or not? Why are we here? You know, we could show you hundreds of slides of why we're here. And we've discussed it a lot. And since August, we've had public discussions about why we are here and some of the things that you're going to see. We have problems that need to be fixed. For school districts, when we talk about big projects, the way that school districts classically for a long time here in New Jersey have done that is they go out to referendum. Okay? The reason that they go out to referendum is that the School Development Authority, I believe that's still what they're called, established a fund where they took taxpayer dollars over many years, and proper projects that are approved by the state of New Jersey get refunded back to the districts. Okay? Our district is a district where the state, in their letter that they send us when we got our projects approved, 40% of almost every project that we'll talk about, that you can ask questions about, will come back to us from the state of New Jersey. And that's based on, classically, over the last 15 to 20 years. Okay, that's what the state has come through on. Okay, they've told us that in a letter. They've promised us that in a letter. And that's the way that we're going to get all of the projects that we want at a 40% discount. Just like walking into your Kohl's or Home Depot. Okay, when you see 40% off, it makes you take a step back and look at those things. To go through these large-scale projects and for school districts to try to save that money, and everybody in the room here, I will not ever pretend that the tax raises that we've had to go through and the state aid that has been reduced from us has been devastating and has been very tough on a school district and probably tough on some of our families. The only way that we're going to recover that money to do these large-scale repairs is through a successful bond referendum. Okay? And again, I've said this before to all my people that have been with me a lot. I will never, ever, ever tell any of you vote yes or no. Okay? But you know who I am. I'm the acting superintendent of schools. So everything that I say, of course, will have information for you to make an informed choice when you go to the ballot box on March 11th. Okay? And we'll talk about that in a little bit too. All right? So why are we here? Critical repairs. Maintenance only gets us so far. And that's been one of the real big conversations when we talk about maintenance and maintenance items. For those of you who've heard me, I know this is redundant, but those of you who haven't heard me before, there's question 1, there's question 2, there's question 3, which I'll get into in just a minute. We'll focus on question 1 for just a moment. Question 1 is to repair every single roof on every single school in Lacey Township. It's going to be a full replacement of every roof. We've heard a lot of different things. How come we don't just keep repairing it? How come we didn't repair it? Well, the fact is that we did. When you talk about your homes, when you talk about a roof on your homes, you call the repairman. You've called him 10 times. Okay, on the 10th time, what does the repairman say? You need a new roof. Okay, that's where we are. Our roofs, all of our roofs, all 6 of them are out of warranty and in need of repair. Okay, the way that we're going to get a 40% discount on those roofs is by going out to a referendum. Okay, so question 1 is going to be a new roof, if it's approved. It'll be a new roof on every single school building in Lacey. They're going to strip them down to the decking. I'm trying to get my language right. I know the architects are here, which they're going to talk about in a minute, and then they'll have 30-year warranties when they're done. And actually, I think Cedar Creek, because it's a shingle roof, will have almost a 50-year warranty. Okay, and it'll be at a 40% discount if question 1 is approved. And there's some selected HVAC items in there as well. We're talking about really big HVAC units, probably $500,000 to $1 million units that operate probably like in here. These are really big units. This is a really big space. Okay, the gym has 4 really big units in the gym. A lot of them are over 20 years old. Some of them are over 30 years old. All right, that'll be in question 2. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, large ticket repairs we cannot finance through the general budget. Okay. School budgets have 2 avenues. You've got your operating budget, and then you've got your debt service side of the budget. Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit, and Jen's going to talk about that later. Okay, we are looking at the debt service side. The operating side is what you guys really felt last year. Okay, the operating side of the budget is separate from debt service, just like your home mortgages. Okay, the debt service side of the budget is like having a mortgage. It's a fixed rate that you pay off over time. School districts pay them off over 20 years. Okay, where your home mortgage might be 30 years. Some of us have 20-year mortgages. But the debt service side is what we're talking about tonight. We're not talking about the operating side. Okay, the operating side would be salaries, benefits, curricular programs, sports programs, that kind of thing. Debt service side operates like your home mortgage. Okay, school districts, all the school districts that I know have mortgages. Okay, it's how they operate. I don't know any school district that's completely solvent in at least Ocean County. I'm sure there's someone in the state that is. I just don't know who they are as we go through there. So those are the two funding streams that go on. Okay, the annual budget comes from your local taxes. Bond funding offers an alternative to offset that local share. Okay, when you want to recover money from the state of New Jersey, this is one avenue that you can do. The other avenue that we've done as a school district, going to Trenton and arguing for our state aid back for the operating side of the budget, has fallen on deaf ears. This is a way that we can relieve some of that side of the budget because we won't be doing as many repairs anymore if questions pass. So we can take that money and we can put it into the proper places, proper programs. We won't be doing so much large-scale repair. We won't have to keep so much money over there because we know things that are failing. I'll give you just the best example that I can give you of how this is. Just Sunday into Monday, or Monday into Tuesday, John's here somewhere, we lost 3 units at the middle school. Absolutely because of age. We know that they're aging out. They burst. Luckily, they burst in a prep room. They weren't near children. Okay, and when I walked in there and I looked at it and I said, why did this happen? Okay, our guys and the professional that we had to call, and we had to repair it at 100% of the cost, remember, because we have to keep heat going. We have to keep that going because it's the middle of winter. Those 3 units burst because of age and obviously the cold, but it wouldn't have happened if they were replaced. Okay, and I know John just walked in. We just lost a water heater at the Cedar Creek School, another area that would be repaired if we have some successful referendum monies. Okay, luckily it was a small water heater, something that we can handle, and we'll do ourselves. So those are pretty decent examples of what's been going on. I know if you follow me on social media, Lacey School District, all right, we put up some pictures, we put up some videos to show you some of those things that are going on. So what did the Board of Education Referendum Committee do? And they're here as well. I want to introduce them. I don't know where they are, though. Mr. Peters is back here, Ms. Walker, and Mr. Armato. Not here, okay? So what we did over a year ago is we sat down with our architect of record, he's going to hear from him in a minute, and we said, what do we need to get done, all right? And we always make sure that we're keeping up. If anybody owns a condominium in Florida, you know what I'm talking about, okay? The Florida collapse, now they have to have this huge fund of money. They have to see what's going on, and they have to consult with their architects all the time. We do that all the time. Okay, where are we? What's going on? What really needs to be done? Roofs would be our number 1 priority. So what the Board of Education Committee did over a year ago is they split this referendum up into 3 different questions. You can vote individually on each of the questions. It gives the community the choice. Okay, did everybody get my mailing last week? Most of the community should have gotten to kind of fold over as a letter from me. Okay, I outlined those, and we're going to outline them again tonight. So the referendum committee decided that they were going to have 3 separate questions to give the Township of Lacey those choices in that level of what they felt was proper investment in our schools. All right, question 1, okay, is going to be tax neutral. And what does that mean? All right, question 1, we are retiring debt in March. About March, is what I've been told. Question 1, if approved, would be new debt in its place. So it would be tax neutral. If your home is worth $1 million or your home is worth $100,000, you would not see any increase on the debt service side of your taxes for the school district. So it would be taking away a mortgage. It would be like just like in your own home. If you retire a mortgage, you go out for a home equity loan, right? You add to because you have to repair your home. A lot of people do that. It's very similar to that. Okay, so that's why when they started formulating what they wanted to do, the Board of Education, they really wanted to give that choice, but they really wanted question 1 to be tax neutral, which it would be if approved by the voters of Lacey. Okay, but we also don't want to squander this opportunity because there's more that needs to be done. Okay, when you go out to referendum, it does cost money. We have to pay for the election. We have to pay for certain things. We're paying for bond counsel for these people to be here to make sure that we're doing it the right way. So the Board of Education Referendum Committee decided that they were going to do 2 additional questions. Right? The second question, okay, will have a debt service tax impact. Okay? All right, the average home in Lacey is assessed at $287 and $11. Okay, so the average home in Lacey, the assessment is $287,011. It's not what you can sell it for. It's what's on your tax bill for an assessment. Okay, and then we have the calculator's up, right? So on our website, if you know your assessment, you can plug it in for what I'm going to talk about right now. So question 2 is primarily about replacing aged HVAC systems. What's HVAC? Heating, ventilation, and cooling. Just like the unit you have next to your homes. Most of us run those units all summer long, okay, especially when we're inland off the beach. It hooks up to another unit in your house, okay? They have a life expectancy, okay? A lot of the units in Lacey, we've repaired them, we've maintained them, we've kept them going for probably more than what their life expectancy should be. My middle school example is a great example of that. Okay, they just aged out. Okay, every building has HVAC units that needs replacement. Question 2 is largely that. All right, question 2 does come with a tax impact. Okay, to replace a majority or a good deal of HVAC units in every building, not expand them. We're not going to put in more air conditioning. Okay, because that comes at a cost as well. That's not part of this referendum. It's about replacing units that we have that are old. That's question 2, majority of what is question 2. There's some wiring in there for the middle school, because the middle school has underground wiring. They're going to look and repair some of that. We have some of that failing because it's in the slab. Okay, so the slab of the middle school, there is some plumbing fixtures and stuff like that in there, I think, for some of the buildings. But largely, if you're thinking about questions, which I want you to leave here with this, you've got question 1, tax neutral, a roof on every building. Question 2, largely replacement of HVAC units that are old. Okay, most being at 20 plus years old, some older, a couple a little bit newer. When you think about the unit next to your home, it lasts about 10 years. You're pretty happy about that. Okay, we've extended that much longer in most places. Okay, but question 2 does come with a debt service tax impact. For the average home in Lacey, it would be $12 a month for 20 years, so $144 a year. And then over 20 years, then you would pay, as a community, you would have question 2 paid off if it was voted in the affirmative, if it was voted for yes. So that's question 2. If your home is worth more, okay, that would be a little bit higher. And it's not a direct comparison, it's like 200,000 to 400,000. You got to plug your number into our calculator, which is on our website, if you really want to know what question 2 would be to your individual taxes. It's a fixed rate. Okay, it can go down. We can refinance it just like you can refinance your mortgages. We can refinance it, and we've done that over years. Okay, we've had debt that I know Sharon has refinanced, or Mr. DeGeorge before her, or Mr. Savage before her. We always look for the best rates, and actually companies do that for us to make sure that school districts are achieving the best rates. Okay, so question 1 again, roofs. Question 2, HVAC units over the district, $12 a month for the average assessment on the average home, $144 a year for what's a lot of projects. It's about $30 million. So question 1 is 30 average. I don't know if the numbers are completely up here. $30 million. Question 2, $30 million. And then question 3 is $24 million. Thank you. Talk about question 3. So you have a choice. Okay, but there's a poison pill here. I want to get to that. If question 1 does not pass, the entire referendum fails. I want to make that clear. And you can't replace the numbers. Question 1 is roofs. It's roofs. You can't do a bait and switch. I've read that online. There's no bait and switch here. Okay? Question, when you do projects, there has to be the project that was approved by the state of New Jersey, or at least super close to that, okay? Like if there was a side roof, or there was some other roof in question 1, or some other HVAC unit that they discover when they're ripping the roofs apart, and if there was enough money in question 1, there's no bait and switch. I can't use roof money for locker room money, which I'll talk about in question 3. That's illegal. We can't do that. We would never do that. Okay? So there's no bait and switch here. So if question 1 fails, the entire referendum goes down. If question 1 passes, then we'll look at the results for question 2 and question 3. You're going to go into the booth. You're going to have question 1, question 2, question 3. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Your choice. And it'll have a big explanation on it. Please read it before you get there, because that's going to be really long and probably really small writing, if I remember ballot questions. Okay, so, and that's why we're having this forum as well, so that you can be informed about what's going on. So question 1, question 2, and then there's a question 3. Okay? So question 3 is different things. I'll say it like that. It's different things that the referendum committee, with some advice from a lot of our people, a lot of our administration, said, you know what? This would be a good opportunity if the public decides that they want it or not. Okay, so question 3 is going to be locker room repairs here at the high school, locker room repairs at the middle school. We need to repave our elementary parking lots. Okay, feel free to drive in and out of them. You'll see, especially now with the salt, you can really see all the cracks in all the parking lots. They haven't been paved in 30 years, okay, the elementary lots. So they've maintained them, we've patched them, we've done everything we can. Now you got to strip them up just like you see in the streets going on. Okay, all part of question 3. And then the lightning rod, putting a turf field behind the high school. Okay, it's the lightning rod piece of all of it. Right? But remember, and I remind everybody that I've spoken in front of, this is personal now, I really feel that the Board of Education in Lacey, because I'm watching the scene out there. I'm watching what districts do when they put these referendums out there. Most of what I see is one giant question, and they try to tug at everybody's heartstrings and say, you got to vote yes or you got to vote no. Stafford did it. You've got Princeton doing it today, right now. They're doing a giant one, like $92 million also. Some huge number out in Princeton, but it's all or nothing. The Board of Education here decided not to do that. They wanted to give the community a choice. So here's the little twist on it, is that if 1 passes, it can be 1 and 2, and 3 can fail. It can be 1 and 3, and 2 can fail, which would be a little bit devastating and weird because that HVAC is so important in question 2. Or it could be just 1, and 2 and 3 can fail. I'm hoping they all don't fail. I'm just going to say that out loud. All right? So that's how this referendum is going to work. Okay, and that's your choice as you go to the booths to make those choices. Where am I on slides? Where am I supposed to be? Am I passing this on yet? Yes? Yes? To Everett and Liesel? Come on up. All right, I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Everett Johnson. I'm a shareholder at the law firm of Walentz, Goldman & Spitzer, co-chair of the firm's bond department. So it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. I'm going to quickly go over these slides. This slide in particular, schools have 2 funding streams. That's an important concept. Will touched on this earlier, but the school district has a general fund budget, and that covers primarily teachers' salaries, pensions, supplies, and capital maintenance, meaning that if your roof leaks, we have to patch it up because we don't have enough money to actually replace the roof. Then you have the debt service fund budget, and that's utilized to fund capital projects over a period of time. Think of your operating fund budget like your personal income from your job, right? You make money, you pay your bills, you pay your mortgage, but you probably most of us couldn't buy a whole house with the amount of money we make in 1 year. It would be a large sacrifice. So what you do is you go out and you get a loan, you get a mortgage, you pay it off over a period of time. Well, the school district has to do the same thing. In your annual operating budget, they don't have enough money to fund a $30 million capital project in 1 year, or else your taxes would be astronomical. So instead, just like you would when you buy a house, they have to go out and borrow money through a bond, and they pay this bond off over a period of time, in this case, 20 years. The additional benefit of the bond being proposed today is that you have the benefit of the debt service aid coming from the state. And so if you pass this referendum, then the state will fund 40% of the eligible costs of your bond referendum. And that's free money to the school district, but you will only receive that money if the referendum is passed. That money comes from the state budget, primarily from gross income taxes, which most of us pay through our paychecks that goes to the state. And to the extent that we don't use that money, other districts who pass their referendums will get that 40% and theoretically a portion of your money. So you can only get that 40% if the referendum is passed, meaning that the state doesn't front you the 40% if you decide not to go for the referendum. They want to see you have skin in the game as well. Your skin in the game is the 60% that you guys are funding through your local property taxes over a period of time. And the benefit of the 40% from the state is something that has beneficial, being taken advantage of by school districts up and down the state. Let's see what else is up here. I think that's pretty much covering that particular slide. I think I'll be back up here again to answer some more questions and to go over another slide as we move forward. Next, I believe, is Will. Yep, back to you.
Thank you. So one of the big things that comes up, and we've talked about this, and again, this is an important piece of the puzzle because people have asked it, what happens if it doesn't pass? That's next here? Oh, we need the updates of, obviously. So I am on the right slide. So that's in a lot of our forums and a lot of what we talked about. What if it doesn't pass? It's very simple. We pay for 100%. It's as simple as that. We won't get all the projects done, but I can tell you as the acting superintendent, if it does fail, I will still have to replace the roof here at the high school. Have to do it. I'm afraid of the M word, mold. I'm afraid of a lot of things here at the high school. It's leaking so bad. We will have to take capital reserve money. We will have to either do that or we'll have to go out for a 5-year loan at a higher interest rate, and we have to replace the roof here at the high school to start with, and then we'll start working our way around, okay, to the most needy projects. The repairs that we just did, I'm going to use that as keep using that as my example. The repairs that we just did at the middle school, we funded 100% of the repair, okay, out of capital monies that could have been better spent on something else. So that's the big thing here. Okay, so that if the referendum does fail, we get no debt service, we get no 40%, we get no help from the state. They don't care. We're sorry, you still have a leaky roof, you have a failed HVAC unit, you got to go fix it. Because we do have spaces that will need those units. The middle school being the best example again. It is our only building that's 100% HVAC. We cannot run that building without all the units working. So if we don't replace them, we have to keep repairing them, and it comes at 100% of the cost. We just fixed 3 of them, okay? And the others are just as old as we go there, okay? So again, we've talked about our question. Is this still me? No, this is Ted. Ted and Jason, come on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. My name is Ted Hopkins, principal of FEHD Architects. With me tonight is Jason Dubowicz. Again, he's the principal and one of my partners at the firm. Before we start, I just want to back up a little bit and tell you kind of what started this journey. About a year ago, we completed a feasibility study that I know some of you know of, and maybe you heard from board meetings, that we literally went through every one of the buildings. We walked every parking lot. We walked every roof. Jason and I personally did this. And we looked at everything with our engineers, and we looked at each system in the building to find out the status of each system, inclusive of HVAC, of course, electrical, and what I just mentioned. So I want to let you know that that was the start of it. We had many meetings with John Smith, who's sitting on the very end there. He's the director of facilities, and he was very much a big part of kind of prioritizing and creating those questions with the Board of Education. We had many, many meetings with everybody, and there was really a focused dialogue on what was the priority at each building. And that, of course, became the 3 questions that we're about to go over with you. But I wanted to let you know that our engineers and us, we went through each of your buildings. We opened every door. We looked at every ceiling. We looked at every floor. Our engineers looked at every panel. They looked at every piece of HVAC equipment. And again, John Smith was very, very crucial as part of those discussions to help us whittle down where we are. So when somebody were to ask me, Ted, are you doing all the HVAC in all the buildings? The answer is no. We're doing the most prioritized HVAC equipment. The roofing, before I hand over the microphone to Jason, is the roofing warranties are all expired. So please know that. So every time somebody has to come out and fix a roof, it comes at a cost every single time to fix anything on the roof. If you have a warranty, you can call somebody up and say, hey, Mr. Manufacturer, I have a leak, please come fix it. It's no cost. You can't do that anymore. Roofing has a warranty. They've all expired. And what we're going to project is a 30-year warranty. So when these roofs get done again, they'll have a 30-year warranty and will be taken care of for that long. So just give you a little background. So the feasibility study was important. Everybody should know that. And I'll let Jason take it from here to tell you what's going on in each question.
All right, thanks, Ted. I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about some of the projects. Will gave you a really good overview of everything that's in each question. Some of the details about the roofing replacement, Ted mentioned the warranty. One of the other major improvements besides having a warranty that's 30 years versus previous warranties of the kind of roof that are on your buildings would have been 15 or 20 years. Now they'd be eligible for a 30-year. They're also going to be about double the amount of insulation. It has the effect of lowering energy prices, making energy usage in the building much more efficient. The insulation in the roof will probably be double the thickness and just have a much more efficient insulating value on the roof. The roofing system itself will be demolished all the way down to the metal roof deck. So all the insulation, everything but what we call the structural deck will come off and be completely replaced. All the equipment on the roof will be what we call flashed in, so that anything that's on the roof that penetrates the roof will be made watertight, as well as the roofing system itself. Looking at the schools specifically, you'll see the first three say partial, and the next three say full. It doesn't mean that we're doing only half of the first three. It really is kind of a technicality. Looking at the high school, trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible, the district has tried to seek other funding sources to help with building maintenance. In this case, for the high school, they were approved for what's called a ROD grant, Regular Operating District Grant, where they were able to get the same 40% cost benefit from the state through this grant program, and will be replacing half of the high school roof through that grant. The other half will be through the referendum. So from a referendum standpoint, it's partial for the high school, but when we're all done, assuming the referendum passes, the entire roof at the high school will be replaced. For the middle school, it's really a technicality because at the entrance to the high school, as you might be aware, there's a canopy that leads up to the entrance. It's what we call a metal barrel vault. That roof is in good condition. Metal roofs typically last much longer. We don't have to touch that. But the entire rest of the middle school will be replaced. So it's only called partial because just that canopy we're not touching. But the rest of the roof on the building will be replaced. And then at Forked River, there is a part of that building that has a shingle roof in the front. That roof just wasn't going to make it. The leaks were unbearable. It couldn't go any longer, so the district had to replace that portion of Forked River last year. But the remainder of the roof at Forked River will be in the referendum. So that's why that roof is partial as well. However, at Cedar Creek, Linoco Harbor, and Mill Pond, it's the entire building. Cedar Creek, as you know, is a shingle roof. Shingles actually have a longer warranty, usually around 50 years. All the shingles and the small flat roof at Cedar Creek will be replaced. Similarly at Linoco Harbor and Mill Pond. Priority HVAC is here at the high school, where the most critical HVAC units are in need of replacement. They're requiring the most repair and the most maintenance, as well as a couple units at the middle school.
Yeah, I want to just make sure that everybody understands why we're doing that. So I don't want to steal Jen's thunder, and I promise I won't. But we're trying to get to that magic number of the first question, which was $30 million. So all the roofing came out to be about 28.5. So we walked over to John and said, "Hey, John, what do you got for about $1.5 million we can do for HVAC?" Again, the most critical and crucial that we could add to question one to get to that $30 million, which would be a zero cost to everybody. So we weren't picking and choosing that in a manner that was bad. It was actually very good to get to that number. So the roofing is about 28.5, and then there's about $1.5 million at the high school and the middle school.
Okay, I'll go to question two. Question two is much more straightforward. It's all HVAC, plumbing, and electrical at all 6 schools. It's not the same for each of those types of work at each school. For the majority of them, like high school, middle school, and I think Lenoka, it's a lot of rooftop HVAC units. Other sections of the high school, Cedar Creek, and I think Mill Pond, will have more of the classroom units, the individual units that serve each classroom, getting those replaced. Plumbing improvements are things like new water heaters, some new pumps for the boiler systems, and the water that's pumped throughout the building, like for sinks, replacing some of those pieces of equipment. And electrical system, select areas. I know Forked River is one of them that will be getting some new lighting. There's some equipment wiring issues at the middle school that have been a constant problem for the school, replacing a lot of that wiring that's either deteriorated or having issues getting equipment running. I think that covers question 2. Question 3 is much more of a kind of a mixed bag of projects. Question 1, roofing HVAC. Question 2, HVAC, plumbing, electric. The question 3 projects are kind of something at every school, but not necessarily the same thing at every school. Here at the high school and at the middle school, renovating the locker rooms for each of the gyms. They haven't really been touched since those buildings were built. They're really in need of improvements in their finishes, their HVAC, their lockers, things like that. The gym floor at the high school has seen a lot of wear and tear over the years and isn't doing well right now. And we want to replace that with a new wood floor, much longer lasting, much better flooring system for a gym. Restrooms at Forked River, if you've ever been to Forked River, they are original, pink tile and all, and they've reached the end of their life and then some. So trying to make sure that they're all ADA compliant and getting all of the fixtures and lighting, wall tile, things like that replaced. Library and lockers at Mill Pond. The library at Mill Pond is very unusable right now. It's really just a large open room that doesn't really function well as a library, in need of new lighting, ceiling, flooring, things like that. And then the lockers, as you might know, Mill Pond has been converted over to an early childhood center now, and providing lockers that are more appropriate to that age group is an important part of furthering that curriculum. And at all 6 of the schools, some level of paving, as Will mentioned earlier about paving and the condition that it's in. A lot of the parking lots are well beyond their expected life, and with the kind of weather we're having lately, it's only going to get worse quicker. There's no expansion of the parking in any way. It's really just tackling what the district has now and repaving the parking lots that exist. And basketball courts at each school. It's similar to parking. They're a blacktop type basketball court, and they're suffering in the same way that the parking lots are. So creating that area for the students outside. Lastly, the turf field at the high school. This project has a couple different facets to it. It's designed to handle multiple sports: football, soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, baseball, and softball, all in one turf field complex. It will have exterior sports lighting as part of it, exterior perimeter fencing, and the part of the referendum that you might keep hearing, there's a little part that doesn't get the full 40% funding from the state. There are 2 major components to a turf field. There's the turf on top, which sometimes we refer to as the carpet, and then there's a significant drainage portion that happens underground, that's constructed before the turf goes down. The state funds at a full 40% that drainage system, which is more significant cost on the turf than the carpet itself. The carpet does not receive any state funding. So just that small piece of all 3 questions of the referendum is the only thing that will not receive the 40%. but the entire turf drainage system, the lighting for the turf field, all gets the full 40% funding. And the idea of the turf field is just to give the district flexibility in use of fields for the high school. It can be used by multiple sports. It does not have to recover after a rainstorm, as a lot of the natural turf fields do. And there's not much maintenance on it. There's not reseeding, there's not restriping, just a little bit of grooming to keep the turf blades standing. But it constitutes a much greater flexibility of athletics for the high school program. Anything you want to add? Nope. Good. Just next slides, some couple pictures. Kind of shows some of the roof leaks. I think these are both, I think the left is Mill Pond and the right is the high school. Okay.
Give a little more personal side of things. Mr. King?
All right.
Just so I don't forget, give me that mic a second. Sure. Just so I don't forget, John Smith is here. He's our head of facilities and grounds. He's on the end over here. He's got the roughest hands in the district because of all that he has to do for us to keep this running. And also our board president is in the back too. I don't want to forget her. Kim Claus is in the back. I just don't want to forget people. It's a big room. So Mr. King is our high school principal, and he's going to share some personal side of things.
All right, thank you, Will. First and foremost, thank you for coming out. And it really comes down to you wanting to know. And how you vote is how you vote. We've said that before. But the fact that you're willing to come out tonight, learn, listen, and form an educated opinion means a lot to me personally. I've been in this district my entire life. I was born here, raised here, went to this building, graduated from this school, came back and taught here. I worked my way up through the administration ranks as a dean, a vice principal at the middle school for many years. I was lucky enough to be the principal of the middle school for a number of years, and now I'm the principal of the high school. With that being said, I've watched this building and this district in many ways go through changes. We talk about education. We talk about students. We talk about teaching our best, brightest, bringing our students to as far forward as we can to prepare them for the rest of their lives. That includes a lot of things. All of our teachers are certified. We make sure of that. We observe them throughout the year. We make sure that they have the latest, greatest things that we can provide. Our curriculum has been updated each and every year, making sure what we teach them is what's necessary. I'm talking from kindergarten all the way up. When I got here as a teacher, we had 6 computers in my science room. They were brand new, a year old maybe. They were just hooked up to something called the internet, and I thought I was one of the luckiest educators in the world. I had access to the world from my classroom. We were talking about the rainforest. I can pull up a picture of the rainforest, a current picture, not from a textbook, not from some magazine, a live current picture of the rainforest that day, that moment. My students were amazed by that. Fast forward, we have gone through many iterations of computers in those classrooms. They're not the same computers up there today. As a matter of fact, today, the room I taught in, the room I taught science, biology, and marine biology in, is now a STEM lab. A full-on STEM lab with CNC machines, a 3D printer, multiple computers. We've changed, we've improved, we've added things. That's the educational side that everyone knows about. That's the educational side everyone's concerned about. What we don't think about often is where you're sitting right now, when you walk in the front door, when you're in those classrooms. Remember, our kids spend hours in these classrooms, 180 days in each classroom. They listen to their teachers as best they can, but they spend a lot of time looking around. What do they see? They see where they're sitting. Do they feel pride? Do they feel it represents what they want to be and where they want to be? Or does it look run down? Before I go any further, our maintenance and custodial staff and our grounds crew do an amazing job, but there's a limit to that. Mr. Zielinski mentioned the HVAC units at the middle school that have failed. Right out in this hallway, in the last 3 years I've been here, 2 of the units have failed 2 or 3 times each. We've repaired them each time. There's a saying, putting good money after bad. We talk about the roofs. When you walk around these hallways out there, the lighting is LED lighting now. How did we get there? We paid for it through our budget, our normal budget, and here's the reason why. The ballasts for fluorescent lighting and the bulbs have become so expensive, it was actually cheaper with a little bit of an investment money-wise to put the LED lighting in the roofs and the ceilings. This is what's at risk. All that brand new lighting gets rained on occasionally because of the leaks in all of our roofs. Every building has this situation. We're putting new things in that save us money, that represent the best of Lacey, that provide an environment for kids to be proud of where they are. And again, they may not notice it, but there's an overall feeling of pride when things look nice, things are clean. If we didn't have clean buildings, we, as an administrator, I'd be replacing our custodians. A clean building is important. So is a safe building. So is a building that doesn't damage new things. So is a building that doesn't hurt the time and effort that our staff puts into it. On a side note, as far as repairs, that comes up a lot. Why don't you repair it? Why don't you fix it? We have. Unfortunately, some of the repairs and some of the things we have to fix are beyond the scope and skill of our amazingly talented maintenance and custodial staff. Every time we pick up the phone to call a company to come in, that's on us. That's more money that we have to spend repairing, trying to get a unit to live a little bit longer, trying to get a roof to hang on a little bit longer. Does it work? For a little while, but ultimately, up here to your right or your left, 2 tiles in, those little wet marks, that's what we're facing. I can replace those tiles tomorrow. It'd be a little hard right where they are, but within a few weeks, that would be back. We're talking about investment into the structure of our district. We're talking about an investment that coincides and follows new textbooks, new computers, new teachers, new evaluation programs, new testing things. We've improved all along. And this referendum gives us a chance to take a big leap in an area of improvement that helps kids for many, many years to come. You know, this is not something that we'll do next year. It's not something we'll do the year after. We have things in place in this referendum that provide long-term, logical investments for our students. Now, again, I teach at the high school. I'm the principal here at the high school. My kids are here for 4 years, and they graduate and they move on. Guess what? A lot of us come back and work here. This is not the building that I graduated from. Some parts are better. Now that every student has a Chromebook, I couldn't imagine that as a student or even as a teacher. Every student has a device in their hand where they can look up that rainforest at a moment's notice. Wonderful. I'm so proud and happy that we've made that investment for our students on the physical computer side. Our programming, our curriculums have all been updated, again, providing the latest for our students to stay competitive as best they can, to put the effort in and get a return on their investment of time and energy. Tonight, we talked to you about all the things we want to bring to our school in a physical nature. Things that we can't afford one-off, things that we can't put off for much longer. And as Will mentioned, we're going to have to do some of these things no matter what. And a 40% off sale isn't a bad sale. Mr. Zuki, it's yours. Oh, all right. I turn it over to Amy.
Hi, how are you? I'm Amy Del Vento. I'm the athletic director here. I cover grades 6 through 12. I've lived here in the community for over 22 years. I have coached over 1,400 girls that have walked these hallways, more than what is here officially in the high school every day. And I'm proud to say that I am also a community member. So it's nice that I work here and I have a lot of pride and I love athletics and I want all these great things to happen. Where's my investment? My investment is I've been paying taxes here for 22 years. My investment is I have twins that are in first grade at Lenoka, and I'm very thankful for the staff and the administration there. But where can you make the difference? We need your help. If you've come to games, I used to coach field hockey here, cheerleading, and lacrosse. For the first time ever, I sat and watched cheerleaders shake the other night with long sleeves on. It is indoors. You do not watch basketball ever on the TV and see them in long sleeves. The cheerleaders had to wear long sleeves the other day. They had to go out and purchase that before the game because we don't have it in our budget. 9 years now without uniforms on any single team. And they had to wear that so that they didn't freeze because 3 of our 4 heating HVAC systems were out. Now, what do our custodians do? Oh, they were on the roof all day long. All day long they were there. Our heat goes out in the wrestling room all the time, at least twice a week. They're up there doing it. I am actually blessed. I could not function in my life without my custodian staff and John Smith. But these kids deserve something better. They shouldn't be freezing during the games. A wrestler should not be going out in a singlet. Would you go to the YMCA and there not be air conditioning? You would be appalled. But we're having kids go out in singlets and cheer uniforms, and they're freezing. In gym class, kids are wearing jackets some days. You can't even, well, kids don't get changed all the time. Well, you can't really get kids to change as much if they're wearing jackets because it's so cold. And again, our staff is working so hard to fix it daily, but you can only fix something so many times. So I need you to keep those little things in mind that you can help us give them a better situation. The locker rooms, if you went in them, they have been there from the beginning along with the gym floor. I have officials come out to officiate basketball and they ask me if anybody's ever spoken to us about not having basketball games because our floor is not level. It is sinking in specific areas. And if you would like to walk the gym from one end to another after, I welcome you to do so. Just do it slowly, because you will see it. The floor gets repaired over and over again. It is the original floor if you went to high school here for 44 years. All right, it makes a huge difference, and our kids deserve it. All right, so keep that in mind. Another thing that has been obviously talk of the town would be the turf field. The turf field gives us an opportunity. There's a lot of misled communication. It is also for our baseball field does not have proper drainage. I can't tell you how many baseball games we've had to cancel because of rainy days and not proper drainage. We've had multiple companies come in to see how much it would fix it, and it's up to $40,000. It would also allow us to rent that out to people for baseball tournaments. That is a huge thing right now. Also, we look as a field hockey team, we're one of the few teams that does not have a turf field. We look to rent. They fundraise money to go rent and play on those fields. Our soccer teams also, we just did scheduling. They scheduled a bunch of teams with turf because we're one of the only people that don't have it. So unfortunately, the community thinks it would just be a football thing. The football field is not getting turf. It is behind W Hall, the end of the school, on the backside. That is probably the biggest miscommunication is where it's going, and it's going with lights. And it's going to benefit the lacrosse teams, the field hockey, and the baseball. All right, the most. Other teams will play on it, but that's what it'd be, especially field hockey, because it is taking over their main field. So these are just a few things, but I'm telling you as a taxpayer, like I said, my kids are only in first grade. For 15 years, I paid taxes here because I believed in the pride of this school and the commitment that I gave to everybody around here and the potential that this district had. So we're asking you for help, whether you have children in the district or not, to make this a better place and to continue to have roofs. I had a quad the other day. The roof caved in, 4 tiles, because of 2 inches of snow out of nowhere. And somebody said, your bathroom's flooded in the middle of having 400 people in my gym. I had to close down the bathroom and open one at the far end that was not even next to our gym. So these are things that are everyday occurrences that don't let us do our job because our building is not holding up. Structurally, we need help, and we can't do that without you. So please go out and make sure that you vote, whether it's for question 1, 2, 3, or all. Just know that you can make the difference, and we need your help, and we can't do it without you. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Jason, for that input. I just want to talk to everybody about the maintenance account. So every year for years now, we've been able to put some money towards our maintenance account. We've been able to have a maintenance reserve. But that maintenance reserve is no longer. We've actually applied the last amount of that maintenance reserve this past year. And that's because of the money that the state has taken from us. It takes a lot for us to maintain our schools. A lot goes into it. that's big ticket items. When we start talking about roofing and HVAC, those are large ticket items that we have to pay for. And we've got 6 schools, we've got, 8 buildings overall. We've got an administration building, we've got a maintenance building that we also have to take care of. The funds are budgeted in what's called a 261 account. We've got required maintenance accounts that we have to fund every year. This year alone, we had over $500,000 that we budgeted in those accounts. And that's where the maintenance reserve money went to this year. But let's get back to talking about the referendum. So the referendum in total is going to be $92.5 million. If the voters approve the full referendum, we'll get $35.8 million in the aid back. And again, this state aid is money that the taxpayers have already paid. And that's a return in the investment in the Lacey schools through an improved referendum. Now, with over $14 million that the state has taken from us in the past 7 years, this is a great investment to try to get back to our district. The reason there's 3 questions to consider is we were trying to give the Lacey residents a choice. We want you guys to be able to have a choice in your investment back to the district. So that's why we chose to go with 3 questions. So now we're going to have Jen Edwards come up and give you guys more information about the referendum.
Good evening, everyone. I usually talk a little loud. Just to walk through the 3 questions again, just to reiterate. So we have $92.5 million. The first question is just under $30 million at a 0 tax increase to the entire community. Doesn't matter what your assessment is. There is no tax increase for that question. Question 2 is $37.9 million. That increase is $12 a month for the average home assessment. There's a tax calculator online, as Will had mentioned, and here is a chart up here that kind of shows you a range of what the tax impacts look like for each question. But the average home assessment is $287,011, and question 2 monthly impact is a $12 monthly impact. Question 3 is $24.5 million, and that impact is an additional $8 a month. So all 3 questions, if approved, you would see an increase in your taxes of $20 a month. The way the referendum and bond issues would work, as mentioned earlier, you can only approve question 2 and 3 if question 1 passes. Question 2 can also pass as long as question 1 passes. Question 3 and question 1 can go together. All 3 can go. But if question 1 fails, the whole thing goes down. As several people have mentioned, question 1 was designed to have a 0 tax increase, and that is due to there's existing debt that the Lacey School District is paying right now that's going to be maturing in the fiscal year 26-27. So we're timing this first payment on question 1 to mature at the same time that that comes off of the books so that there will be no increase to the taxes. One misconception I've heard about recently that I wanted to address is, I think there was a question out there, well, couldn't we just take that $1.5 million that comes off of our existing debt and move it over to the general fund side and budget for projects? The district is not permitted to do that. The debt service budget is separate than the general fund budget, and once that debt service drops off, it's gone. So this gives an opportunity to replace the debt service and be able to get much more projects done at $30 million to be able to spread that out over 20 years for that $1.5 million that's coming off. So that's really how question 1 is structured. Another thing to mention on the tax impact, these are a lot of projects. There's numerous projects involved. It's going to take several years for all of these projects to be implemented. So we don't believe that this tax impact is going to go into effect immediately all at one time. The architects are going to develop a draw schedule that's going to show how the money and the projects are going to be implemented over time, and then the district will be able to issue the bonds and and implement the tax increases based on when those projects are being implemented. So I think that $20 a month may actually look like something smaller in the beginning, and it'll build up over the next couple of years as those projects are implemented. So it won't be this one hit all at once. The interest rate that we're using for the bond issue, we're using a 4.5% interest rate for a 20-year bond. Currently, interest rates are much lower than that. They're just below 4% for a 20-year issue. So that is another opportunity when we do go to market for the bond issue, that the interest rate could come in lower, and then this tax impact could also come in lower as well. There's going to be an opportunity to refinance down the road, depending upon what interest rates we do get. Bonds are always issued as callable. If they're longer than 10 years, they're issued as redeemable for the bondholders. To be refunded on a tax-exempt basis within 10 years. Some of our bond issues that were done 10 years ago were done at such low interest rates, they're not even able to be refunded because the interest rates were so low. But given this, that will be eligible, and as Will mentioned, the district has refunded several of their existing bond issues many times to lower that debt service impact. One other thing I wanted to mention as well, that Will had brought up about having to budget for, let's just say question 1 does not pass, and we have to move forward with how to fix the high school roof, the balance of the high school roof. The high school roof is $5.7 million in the budget for the referendum. So if the school district has to move forward with doing another type of loan for $5.7 million, the only thing that's permitted under New Jersey law is to do a 5-year facilities lease. So the district would have to borrow a 5-year loan for $5.7 million at a bank rate, which is right now, let's just say 3.5%. 3.5% for 5 years is $1.2 million that has to go into the general fund budget to pay for that roof alone. Where with our debt service falling off, which is $1.5 million, we can get $30 million in projects to equate to that $1.5 million. It just gives you the magnitude of what that means from the general fund budget. And I think I hit all my points.
Good evening again, Everett Johnson. Structure of the bond proposal. As was mentioned earlier by Will, you have 3 different questions. Question 1 is needed to be approved before, question 1 needs to be approved for question 2 or 3 to be approved. So you can have question 1 and question 2, you have question 1, question 3, you have question 1, 2, and 3, and you can have a question 1. But you can't have 2 by itself, you can't have 3 by itself. Will said that earlier, but I wanted to make sure we reiterated that point. Let me talk a little bit about the bond process, and it's going to be, the bonds will be sold on a competitive basis. What does that really mean? That means that underwriters who underwrite debt will actually submit bids against each other for the right and opportunity to acquire your debt. So what happens is, assuming the referendum passes, all 3 or 1, hopefully all 3, there will be a prospectus that will be sent out, which we call, in our world, a preliminary official statement. But that document basically provides information on the school district itself, the projects that are being financed, the amount of debt proposed to be issued, the debt service being provided by the state. It will contain the audit report of the school district. It will contain the bond rating. And that's sent out to underwriters who bid on bonds, such as Goldman Sachs, Raymond James, Citigroup. There's different underwriting firms. And that prospectus would also say, on a particular date, we're going to take offers to purchase our bonds. And those offers are submitted electronically through an electronic bidding system online. So on that date, we'll announce the time, usually it's 11 a.m. They have to all submit their bids. Now, they can't see each other's bids, so they're blindly bidding on your debt. All they know is what they received about the project from the prospectus, and they know what the rates are, Federal Reserve rates are, and what debt should be sold for on that particular day. And so the benefit of that is, since they're bidding blindly, and they want to acquire this debt, they're going to submit the best rate that they can submit, for themselves. And so the good thing about that is we get to select the lowest bidder. So whoever bids the lowest interest rate is who actually is awarded the bonds to be underwritten. So that's called a competitive bidding process. Unlike when I mentioned my mortgage example earlier, where you go to a bank and they give you a loan, they give you the rate. In this instance, we have multiple rates to choose from, but we always choose the lowest rate, the lowest conforming rate. So I think that's important in terms of understanding the competitive bidding process. And we also can't spend more than what's approved in a referendum. So whatever amount is approved in the referendum, we can't go above that amount, and we can only use the bond proceeds for the projects that are approved in the referendum. Will mentioned that earlier as well. Just reiterating the same points. Whatever is in question one, if it's approved, those are the only items we can utilize the bond funds for. Those items listed in question one, and the same for question two and question three. There is no bait and switch policy that we can do. That is against the statute and not possible. And the capital reserve fund, which was mentioned a second ago, that obviously that's an account or reserve fund used for capital projects. But as mentioned many times, there's been so much money you can put into a reserve fund. You can't put $30 million in or $60 million in to fix roofs in one particular year. It would take you many, many years to aggregate that much money in a reserve fund to fix these projects. So the best way to get these projects fixed immediately would be through the bond refunding. And even with the capital reserve fund, there will be no debt service aid. You'll be funding everything fully out of your pocket. This bond referendum authorizes and gives you the ability to actually borrow money and get 40% paid for by the state through state aid. With that being said, I think that ends my bullet points here, and I will turn it back over to Will, and I'll be available to answer questions later on during the breakout sessions.
Thanks, Everett. Thank you. All right, let me just fix my notes here, see where I am. I had some points in here somewhere. All right, so you've heard from everybody who's involved in this project. As we break up, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. But I don't want to let it leave without really talking about. Well, there's a couple things going on tonight. Tonight, there's school districts voting on referendums. You've got Pittman; they're voting on a $21 million referendum. Princeton's voting on an $80 million referendum. Mendham Borough, $19 million. Scotch Plains, Fanwood, $46 million. There's others that were passed in November as well, so we'll pay attention to what that is. But remember, all those referendums, whatever money they're getting back from the state, that is money that we've contributed already as well. As I think Everett said, of our gross income tax, right? So I always wonder where that money went. Like, that was always an interesting line item for the state of New Jersey in there. So I just want to address one last thing. The misinformation campaign is pretty much in full swing out there. We're always available to answer questions that you may have. Our website right now, if you log into laceyschools.org, it's pretty extensive. There's lots of clicking that you can do, including a calculator for your home, including very detailed work on every project. It includes some pictures. It includes a lot of different things out there. And I really encourage anybody who has questions to go there or call my office or send an email. There's an email site there that we monitor every single hour of every single day to make sure that everybody gets their answers to anything that's going out there. This is our formal presentation. But again, we are always available to help you, to talk about these things, spread the word. Remember, this is something that goes out to all of Lacey, and we want to hear from Lacey. And a lot of our meetings, bond referendums do point districts in a direction. They point them in a direction of where the community wants to go. And I don't want you to leave without not thinking about that. We've pulled on and showed you a lot of the major projects here. We really don't think that we're doing anything that is excessive necessarily, but it's really going to point us in a direction. To point us in a direction in the way the districts want to go. You've heard some of our younger parents. We have some retired members of our community here, obviously, who've probably put their kids through school, maybe even here in Lacey. I just encourage you to make sure that you reach out if you have any questions. Okay. So here we are now. All right, everybody's got to pay attention to me. I'm going to let you guys move on to where you're going first, and then I'll kind of move them on. So we're going to go to Cafeteria North, and we're going to go to Media Center, and I'm staying behind. All right? So I'll explain what we're doing. So now if you have specific questions, you're going to move to different locations. My administrative staff is going to fan out in the hallways and direct everyone where they're going to go. You can go out the back door or you can go out the side door. But I think I'm going to kind of try to break you up a little bit if you want to go to all 3 locations. So what are the locations? You're going to have the architects are going to be in Cafeteria North. If you don't know where that is, they're going to direct you where that is. They'll give you they're going to have a slideshow, specific questions. If you have more questions, I know we did a lot here. If you have financial questions, we're going to do that in the media center. Okay, we're going to have bond counsel and Jen, our financial advisor, who has all those slides up there. They're going to be sitting in the media center, and you get to ask real specific questions that you may have. General questions, I'm going to stay right here. Okay, I'll stay behind for general questions. Come on up in the front. We'll answer general questions for there. I can dismiss you as groups, or you guys can all kind of fan out if you want. You can poke your head in the gym. I believe the gym door here are open if you want to look at the gym floor. And as you're going down to the media center, that is our largest of the leaks, is a bulkhead system that was constructed when the building was added on to many years ago that cannot be repaired and has to be replaced. If you look up, you'll see that on the way to the media center if you want to see actually what may or may not be going on. And if you have no questions, you are free to go, I suppose. So I'm gonna dismiss people. So I think the way to do this is that, like, if this section, like if you guys want to go to the architect, go there first. Okay? If the middle section wants to go to bond counsel or financial advisor, go off to the media center. And then this side, stay with me if you want. Okay? But that's how we're gonna do this. I'm gonna shut the mic off, and if you want to come up for questions, we'll answer your individual questions. So that's it. Thank you. And we'll announce that over the loudspeaker. We'll say, everyone, if you're done, you can move on, and we'll go there. And Mr. Peters, you'll stay here with me, Mr. Peters, as our referendum chairman. Thank you.